Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk about the Sabbath in Igbo culture. I will get into this subject by discussing the history of the Sabbath itself in Igbo culture. I will start from the history because of a certain difficulty we have in the Igbo society presently. A notion of supremacy crept into the Igbo consciousness and afflicted quite a good number of Igbos. And it's also understandable. A generation grew up knowing only defeats and failures as Igbo history. So they feel good assuming that the Igbos were the first people to exist in the world and that the Igbos have always been in the land called Igbo land presently, even though recourse to common sense should have told the people that hold these views, some of them live in the United States, that if they could migrate from their villages in Igbo land to the United States, nothing stops their ancestors from migrating from somewhere else to Igbo land. So if you talk about any aspect of Igbo culture that the Igbos carried from somewhere else to Igbo land, it piques them, annoys them, because this supremacist idea or tendency or notion gives them the impression that Igbos could only be a grand people if the Igbos could prove that they have been, or could make a case that they have been in Igbo land since the world even began to exist. So I'm going to go into the history of the Sabbath in Igbo land and the Sabbath itself as a phenomena in the world. In my republic, I'm going to talk about just two sections of this republic, or two sub-republics in my own republic. In the sub-republic called Eziora, there is a day called the Keuku Day. This Keuku Day comes around on the 7th to 8th day, or rather on the 7th, 8th day, on every 7th and 8th day, 7th/8th day. This is the day that this day comes around. I will describe the process that brings it about. Igbos attend markets that revolve every 4 days. I just learned yesterday that Bini people have this tradition of markets revolving every 5 days. Some Igbos have gone around saying that the Benis have markets that revolve every 4 days. I learned from a learned Bini scholar that is every 5 days in his own section of Benin anyway. While in our own case, it's every 4 days the market turns around. The names of these market days are Orie, Afo, Nkwo, Eke. In this sub-republic Eziora that I'm talking about, the first Eke, that is the first Eke day, is called Ekenta. Ekenta means small Eke. There is no restrictions on this day. It's a regular day. You can mourn the dead, you can marry, you can walk. After another 4 days, a second day, the Eke comes around. This is called a Keuku. A Keuku means big Eke. You cannot walk, you cannot mourn the dead, you cannot marry. What Eziora does this day, and I'm going to tag Eziora people whom I grew up with, is your rest. This is still practiced up to 2022. And we all know that it is emume ndị ọgọ mmụọ. It is a practice that existed prior to Christianity. This is the Sabbath day. In my own sub-republic, which is called Egbema, this day is called Nkworu. Nkwo is one of the market days of the Igbos. The second Nkwo that comes after the first Nkwo. In Egbema, you cannot walk, you cannot marry, you cannot mourn the dead. I will now talk about the Sabbath in general. Prior to the Israelites understanding that a day is set aside for resting. We had no record of any other group in the world having this systematic knowledge, or having this knowledge systematically and practicing it systematically. So, if you do not have the problem of seeing the Israelites as a distinct people from the Igbos, you can now see that if they are distinct, if they are different peoples, then both of them have this notion, have this understanding that a day is set aside for resting. And by the way, what the Israelites did, what they understood that they should do is sever themselves, cut themselves off from their regular activities on the sundown of the sixth day, rest from that sundown of the sixth day to the sundown of the seventh day, in whatever they understood a week to mean. And instructively, the Igbo day starts from the sundown of the day of any day you are looking at. Like in the Igbo understanding, today is a Saturday. This Saturday started from the sundown of Friday. That was yesterday. Why am I making this video? After successfully demonstrating that the Igbos have a day of rest, I'm making this video because we need to constantly remind the Igbo people that to be different, to be distinct, to be distinguished, you have to do things. If Nigerians work every day, do everything that humans do every day, if you do the same with Nigerians, there is no difference. And why would Nigerians treat you differently then? Why would Nigerians feel that the Igbos are entitled to the presidency, which is allocated to every section of the country, if Igbos are just Nigerians? Nigerians recognize that the Fulanis are a distinct entity, the most powerful entity in Nigeria. That is why they cede to them the presidency more than to any other group. They also recognize that the Yorubas are a distinct nationality. That is why they were recognized, and they have been awarded that position for 14 years. The South-South is also recognized as a distinct entity. That is why Jonathan got that position. The Igbos have a destiny to adhere to certain traditions and customs that will make them distinct. Igbos have to simply do those things for Nigerians to recognize them, and for the world to recognize them, and for even God to recognize them. Unfortunately, we have a vehicle now, Omenana Defenders, which has seen that these are the more important things on the table of the Igbos. So if you are a member of Omenana Defenders, we know you work hard, we appreciate what you do more, but on the Sabbath day, in order for us to have a standard, let us use the regular modern 7 days of the week, which the Jewish community observes. On the 7th day, withdraw from all social media, withdraw from all regular work, rest. Is it too big a thing to rest? Is it too big a demand to make? This Sabbath, I rested and I read 3 books. I read this, which I wrote because I discussed the Sabbath in it. This is Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe's Odyssey. I began to read it. This is a book about Tafawa Balewa, Nigeria's only and first Prime Minister. I also began to read it. My recommendation to my brothers and sisters, the Igbo people, is do same is worth the trouble. Thank you.